everybody, welcome to another painting demo, and today I thought I'd do something a little more along the lines of kind of warming up your painting. So if you're trying to do something and it's just coming off a little flat, or maybe it's just doesn't have enough warmth to it, think along in those terms. So I'm using some Strathmore 400 on a spiral pad today. This paper here reacts a little bit differently than the Fabriano that I like to use a lot. This here absorbs a little bit more, not as much as Canson, but it does absorb quite a bit. So you have to be careful not to just, let things get too muddy. So let's give it our usual 3 coats. And let's start off with our usual. We're going to do a little just raw sienna. I don't have anything in particular in mind yet. Hopefully something will come to me as I paint here. But I like to do my background and just kind of let it happen. I'll just put a little bit in the foreground here. Okay, so instead of just doing an ultramarine sky with a little Payne's grid, do ultramarine with a little light red. And that'll give us a little more warmth of temperature. And just a little bit more ultramarine there. And you'll notice the way this sort of like diffuses into this paper, a little different than than like Fabriano or some other papers. If you're using an all cotton paper, well then it's going to react like this even more so. Okay. So next thing we're going to do, let's take a little raw sienna and just kind of create sort of a foreground type area. And if you're at this point here and you're thinking about what to paint, I mean, you could do a path, you can do a river, you can do a lake. There's a lot of different things you can do. Let's do some mountains in the background here. So we'll take the ultramarine blue and light red again. Just mix that together, sort of like our sky colors. And we'll dab in a little mountains in the back here. You can take a little bit more light red. This will dry back. It'll give you some colors. Some more warmer, almost vibrant colors. And let's take our card. And we'll just scrape in some peaks, and come back with a little bit of that mountain color again, a little stronger on the blue maybe, and just sort of in between where you made your peaks for some darker shades there. Okay. And we'll take some raw sienna, maybe mixed with a little burnt umber. Create some additional hills maybe coming down. We add a little bit of red to that, again, to warm it up if you're looking for some warmth. Take our card again. Just add some additional peaks. And then darken up that color a little bit again, just fill in some of those areas. And if you want to come back, you can do multiple times. You want to do and say you want some more peaks coming into the scene. You can do that. Okay, at this point we're going to do a little bit more foreground. Take a little of the raw sienna to keep it. Leave little bits of white going and just kind of drag your brush across and just leave little areas of white. And that will add to the overall brightness. And as I'm going here, I'm thinking we're going to just keep this as sort of water here. And now that we've done that, we'll add some just a little bit of brown. I like to use Van Dyke brown. I think it's a deeper, richer brown. Just put a few little sweeps in, just to create some contrast in that back brown area. You could use a little neutral tint, darken it even a little bit more. Let's mix that with some light red. Let's bring that across. Now you see some warmth there on the bottom there. This paper is pretty dry at this point, so these dry strokes are leaving a lot more bits of white, which is nice. A little bit of a shadow from the mountain back there. And just take a little of the neutral tint or Payne's Gray. And you can, again, create a little contrast in these shaded areas. If you feel your paint is drying too quickly, don't be afraid to give it a little spray out of a little spray bottle like this. We'll keep it wet, and you can go in there and you can work with it a little more, and it'll create some nice textures for you. Okay, let's go to our smaller Hake brush. And let's mix up some little ultramarine, little burnt sienna, and a little alizarin crimson. You can use ultramarine, alizarin, and even a little Payne's Gray if you want to get that mix and you don't have burnt sienna. Or even neutral tint. What we're just trying to do is get a darker landmass sort of a color. Get your brush flat, and then you can sort of dab in let's put a little more water on the brush. You can dab in a little, just to accentuate where the little peninsulas that stick out or jet out. Just to accentuate them a little bit. Now you can take some ultramarine, some brown, and you can put in some darks down here now that you're closer to the viewer. And you can use this as the basis for where you're going to scrape in some rocks if you choose to do that. You can even put some little ones in here, back where the peninsulas meet the water, and come back with them same darker colors and just dab a little over the top, or the bottom I mean, so the rocks are just peeking up on top. Sometimes I'll take a little bit of my brush and I'll dab in a little in the lighter areas with the darker, and it almost creates some instant texture. Now at this point you can look at the painting, you can say, well, I can add some trees. You can say at that point maybe you're not as happy with your sky. Or one of the things you can do is you can use that to sort of tie things together a little bit. Let's go ahead and do that now. Let's take a little ultramarine, little brown, either you're using burnt umber or Van Dyke brown I like to use to make it a little darker. And you can take a little neutral tint, or again, Payne's Gray. And you can bring a tree right here. Don't be afraid to do this. Make it a little darker on this side. And while that's going here, we'll take our rigger brush and make darker color. And just put in some branches. And then if you want to, you can take your card again. Don't have to. Just put some pressure on it onto the right side. And just get a little highlight going there. I'm getting a little drippage down in here. So I'm just going to dab that a little bit. And if you want some more trees, you can come back on this side and maybe put in a couple trees over here, slightly further back. And take the rigger and just pop in some branches. And we'll take a little bit of brown, a little bit of blue, and just some ground cover around where the base of the tree is. And when you do this now, you can take your card or your fingernail and you can scratch in some grass blades. You can also scratch in your little bark highlight if you want to. These are a little further back, so don't go too crazy with that. Now to warm things up a little bit more, if you want to make things a little more colorful, you can take and spray in your little area here where the water is, because it's looking pretty white. I mean, it's not bad, but this is at the point where you can come in with some ultramarine and even a little Payne's Gray. And you can start adding some water coming across, leaving some white. Just light, more blue where the water is closer to you. It's probably a little too much. And let's take and give it a blast with the hairdryer. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to really go in with some color, turn this into an autumn scene. Now you can use light red. I've been using a little bit of Pyrrole Red, which is a Daniel Smith color. I don't know if that's other brands have it, but it's a Daniel Smith brand. But let's use the light red by itself. And let's get some leaves on these trees. And when I do that, I like to put in a little light red down toward the bottom here. Either it could be leaves that have fallen off or just to kind of tie things in a little bit. I'm going to do the same over here just to get some light red. Okay, we'll let that dry. Let's come in and get some, on the same brush, we're going to mix the light red and cad yellow. And then we'll give almost an orangey get a little more yellow on there. Almost an orangey, so different from this tree over here. Then you can mix that with a little brown, little neutral tint I like to do, and just to create some variances. Come back with that red over here and just do the same thing. Just add a little red back on. Ties the trees together nicely. Okay, now the other thing that I've been doing was I like to take, I have another palette I've been working with, and this one's for other things, but I have a couple colors on here that are nice for certain things. One of them is this one, it's called Hansa Yellow. It's a nice yellow. Get a lot on the brush and sort of blend that in. Gives a nice, you can do cad yellow for that too, but this one really, it just has a brightness, a pop to it that I like. And it creates a nice bright effect. Now, another one that I've been using is I've been using this Pyro Red. Just straight. You got to be careful with this because this color is, it's really bright. It'll look fake if you use too much. That will dry back, but you can really see it's got that nice effect to it. Really creates for a colorful scene. Again, you can pop in a little colors down toward the bottom, doesn't hurt. Take some of that Hansa yellow too and just get some warm colors going down here. Don't be afraid to use it in almost neat. Okay, let's go back to our medium hake in my other palette. And we're just gonna, it's too much water on the brush. Just gonna intensify these little shoreline areas just a bit, which were probably a little lost by the spray bottle. And with a little bit of that darker color, maybe some ultramarine, come down here and just pop in just some darker colors to give it a little contrast off the bottom. Just little dabs. And that's really about it. I mean, there's probably not too much more we can do with this. You can play around with the, you can come back with a little bit of light red and do a little bit of blending. I don't know why this, the smaller hake seems like it holds more water than the bigger one for some weird reason. Just put a little bit of more of the light red on there just to deaden that out so it's not so bright. And you can also, too, if you like, you can come in with a flat brush, something I do too. Not going to do a whole lot of it, but you can dab it into the little darker areas, and you can create some, get that brush nice and flat. You can create some little ripples just by dabbing from the shoreline out. A little added sense of realism. Don't cover up your white though. And I think other than popping in a couple of birds, I think that's going to be it. Well, I'll probably pop in a couple of birds, sign it, and then we'll come back and we'll look for a close-up. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. Okay, here is our finished painting. I had to use a little bit different of a mat than I normally use because this is 15 inches wide. But let's zoom in. You can see our mountain areas, little sky area. Nice diffusion on this paper. Let's come down into the foreground areas. You can see those colors we added, creating some nice little areas of warmth. Little bits of white that were left that indicate water. Just a hint of the mountain into the water. It would be nice if there was more of that, but not really was the focus here. And that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed this and you see about maybe warmer, bolder colors here. Thanks again for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, and all that good stuff. Have a great day, everybody.